Hello and welcome back to Sports for Dummies. In today's episode, we are doing a review of
We're reviewing round three.
round 3 of the AFL. Johnny, let's get into it.
Big week in footy. There was some, predictable results. There was a couple of upsets. Let's get straight into it.
That brings us to the battle of the grand finalists from last year, which were both, hadn't won one game.
Pressure is firmly on Brisbane now.
Brisbane versus Collingwood. So Collingwood, took the cake, 92 to 72. You had goal scorers for the Collingwood. Elliott was impressive with 4, Myercheck 3, Bobby Hill 3, Dacos with his 30, good recovery after his poor 50th game. Noble 24, Mitchell 24. Over in Brizzy, you had Rayner 2 goals, Lockie Neal 1, McCluggage 1. Neal had 35, standout performance there. 30 Zorko, McCluggage 29. So it was a good hit out. I did think for a second, look, I really didn't think Collingwood were going to win. I mean, I tipped against them. I thought Brisbane, making how good they've had that as a fortress for the last year.
We've been talking about that all summer, and they've dropped 2 games at home. But what Collingwood did, they put Nick Dacos in the half-back line.
Yep.
They brought Noble in, who just gave them that bit of run, 24 touch. He had 24 touches off that half-back line. And they just had more strength. They had 87 tackles to 53. They just outworked Brisbane. And you saw so many times a Brisbane player was being manhandled by 2 or 3, sometimes 4 Collingwood players. It was absolutely elite. And Nick Dacos, back on the half-back line, had some space with his disposals and was able to really hurt them. Bobby Hill in that first half was absolutely sensational. But Brisbane, geez, they've got some issues here. The way that they're kicking the ball forward, I thought they fixed a lot of issues last year. One, defensively, and, they showed they could play in Melbourne. But what their problem is, and it's the same thing that they've had for the last 5 years. I mean, they've been up there for 5 years. It was Geelong's same game plan from pre-2022 before they won the grand final. They win on natural talent, but when they move the ball so slow and they just bomb it to their forward line, and there's just a pack of 10. Their forward line there's some issues there. Danaher's out of form. Hipwood hasn't played a good game for 2 months. Charlie Cameron used to be the most dangerous, exciting player. He's gone off the boil. They kicked 2 goals between them from the forward line.
That was shocking. Do you reckon that means? Do you reckon it's going to be a really hard year for them? Like for them to make top 4. I mean, there's 20 more games to go. Do you reckon they're going to be there?
I had seen both of those sides. I don't think anyone's making the top 4.
Out of Brisbane and Collingwood?
No, I didn't see enough from Collingwood. I saw Collingwood beating up on just a broken Brisbane side. They were going at almost 30% efficiency going into the forward line. Now, what's come to light, whether this is true or not, did you hear about the Vegas trip?
No, now I need to know what happened.
So apparently, now this is all speculation, but Goodman said Edmund, the nice reporter, has come out. So apparently there was a trip in Vegas.
Yep.
Boys will be boys. What happens in Vegas? Like, this is the Brisbane. Brisbane side.
Boys.
So they're trying to make this an excuse for why they're playing so bad. They think there's a division in the side. Apparently, boys will be boys. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Apparently, there's some messages that were floating around, and one of the players' messages was set up to the iCloud, which was linked to that his better half could see.
Oh, no.
So apparently some photos and messages. Again, this is speculation, but this is what is on the grapevine. But what they're saying is Brisbane, there's a division at the club, and that's an excuse, for why they're playing so bad. I don't buy it. They're still getting the football. They're getting plenty of the football. They're up by 8 goals against Carlton. I think their game plan is that slow, long kicking only gets you so far, and it doesn't win you grand finals. And I think they were just beaten by Collingwood. But the pressure is firmly on Brisbane now. The pressure was the only thing that was saving Brisbane with their poor start was that Collingwood hadn't won, and Collingwood's the biggest club. The pressure is firmly on Brisbane now, and they are so lucky they have North Melbourne to follow.
Well, they have North Melbourne, but it's in Adelaide. I mean, one would assume they take the cake on that.
If they lose to North,
They're not making
surely
the 8.
I think people getting fired. Like, if you lose to North Melbourne, seriously, you're in big trouble. Big trouble. But good for. Do you know what? Full credit to Collingwood.
What did you think of Pendlebury's slap, like open-handed slap on Neil? It was kind of like, because it's very uncharacteristic. It's almost he's getting to that age in his career where he's done it. He's pretty much done it all.
Well, it's his
Fuck him. Bang.
I don't think he's ever been.
He's never been suspended.
Look,
I don't think so.
Lockie Neal copped pretty much a punch to the face by George Hewitt in round 1, and George Hewitt didn't get weak. So I didn't think he was going to get weeks.
It was very. He must have got under his skin. He must have said something.
Well, it's very demeaning to slap someone. It's just a weird, right?
Not even a punch, but he got. I mean, he must have done it. Like, it wasn't a soft. You hit someone with your. Yeah, with the palm. That's going to hurt.
I don't know if it hurt him or not, but full credit to the Pies. They made some structural changes. I've been saying that Nick Dacos, despite all how good he's been in the midfield, half-back line is the most important position on the ground now. They put him back, bringing in Noble, who's a heart and soul player, just gave him that extra run, and 87 tackles to 53. And good for Jamie Elliott kicking forward. Bobby Hill was the spark in that first quarter. Collingwood were too good, and good on them to be on the board.
I was about to say, how good Jamie Elliott?
It was good.
That guy,
he was nailing him.
When he's on, and as another opposing team, you just don't want to be on the other side.
No, you never. You just feel nervous when he's got the ball.
Yeah, that brings us to the next game, which was
Carlton and North Melbourne. So this...
Oh, thank goodness. I just had a brain fart thinking it was North and Freo. And I was like, shit, what happened here?
Let's go.
Definitely not. I'll go through it. So you had, your Blue Baggers got the cake 137 to 81. So an absolute, it was close for a period.
What was it?
Tiny little bit. They weren't close, but like it wasn't, 56 points. I mean, you guys really turned on the jet.
Yeah, I think we had them covered.
Goal kickers, actually, no, you're right. Half time, it was like a shellacking.
Yeah.
Mackay 5, Kerno 4, Owies 3, Cripps 28, Hewitt 26, Hollins 22, Larky kicked 3, Curtis kicked 3, Ford kicked 2, Sheasel 32, Powell 29, Davis Uniacke, 27. Johnny, run us through. So it was a good win by your Blue Baggers. You must have been pretty excited to see that. But a pretty stock standard game for you guys.
This is a different type of win because you go into this game expecting to win. This was Carlton's last 6 games, whether we're playing a weak side or a strong side, our winning margin's been less than a kick. So to go out there and win easily... shows, okay, we're definitely maturing as a side. And North, there's a little bit to like them. I thought Paul Curtis was very lively on their forward line. But Harry Mackay, what a transformation he's had.
Is he leading the Coleman? He would be up there.
He's second in contested grabs.
Because he's done, you called it, Johnny. You were big. You're saying if Mackay can come out, get rid of his yips. He played really, really well.
I think
you must be happy to see that.
He's not. So he's second in the goal kicking and second for contested marks in the AFL. So my thing with Mackay is 2-3 years ago he won the Coleman medal and was kicking at 60%. Sorry guys. Kicking at 60%, and he just lost confidence as he's kicking, but. Going into the Port Adelaide game last year before he got injured, he was number 1 for contested marks. He was getting slaughtered and we were playing shit. But what I saw was he was the only one. He was one of a handful of players with Cripper and Walsh who were trying. So I'm like, that's what you want because he clearly can mark the footy. His work rate is second to none. They can get his goal kicking back. And do you know what the perfect sign that he was back for me is? He marked the ball 30, 35 metres out on a slight angle, not crazy. He would normally go snap that. He went back and kicked it as a drop punt. Yeah. Other things, Wiedering back, he's just so... to have him back, taking marks, he's so good with ball in hand, hits targets, which was really good because Marchbank was very, very shaky. I don't know why he came into the side for Brodie Kemp.
Well, I think he got a head knock as well.
He could never like to see that.
Yeah.
Brodie Kemp's been undersized and played an absolute fantastic for Carlton in the first 2 weeks against big foot forwards. He's taking marks. He can hit targets as well. A couple of mistakes. I don't know why Marchbank was brought in. Our forward line just looks too good. Curnow, is the best one-on-one player I've seen. In the league at the moment. I think Dusty a few years ago would probably have that mantle as the best one-on-one player.
Yeah,
Curnow does it against key defenders. What I do want to say about this game, to show that I'm not biased, it was very hard to watch. I think there was about 10, 12 goals kicked from free kicks and 50 metres. By the way, Carlton were on the recipient of about 8 or 9, but North kicked 2 or 3, and their first 2 or 3 goals were from free kicks too. Both sides, and like the reason we got more free kicks, the umpires were clearly on the free kicks, and we got more of the ball. So they were clearly, whoever was getting the ball was getting free kicks, because when North went forward, they got free kicks too. The AFL have to look at this, because it was actually unwatchable. I'm going to take the Carlton hat off. It was actually pretty hard to watch that everything was a free kick. Everything was a 50 metre. Not saying not all of them were there, but the umpiring has to get better, because it was pretty hard at times, very ticky-tacky fouls. And it really, we were the beneficiary.
They're trigger happy, but then they're not. There's so many inconsistencies with the umpires at the moment, and it is killing the game, because you just watch, and as a supporter, you're like, are they going to blow it? Holding the ball's non-existent right now. There's times where players just drop the ball and it's like, no, it's fine. It's a normal disposal. So, what do you think this means for North Melbourne? Obviously, for Carlton, it's pretty clear this was a game they should have won. They did win. They won by a good margin, and everyone, I'm sure, everyone was tipping Carlton to get up. And you guys did what you said, 50, 60 points, good win, solid outing. Do you reckon for North? This is their complete rebuild year. This is going to be a lot of learning, a lot of losses. They're probably not going to get up off that, bottom 4.
There's definitely spark about North, like Larky, Zerhow, Yuziaki, Sheasel. I really liking Paul Curtis's energy. Coming against Carlton, they were just simply outbodied, outclassed. But North, who have they played? They've played GWS. They got beaten by Fremantle, and they've had a pretty, hard run to start with. It only gets harder, Let's see how they go against Brisbane, who have not won a game. And Brisbane,
could you imagine?
Well, here's a chance, North. Because how long do we we've been for 4 or 5 years. North have been, young side rebuild, and it's like, no, you're getting worse. There's only so many times, and like West Coast, how long does this? Because guaranteed to get better, and we'll touch on that with West Coast too.
West Coast.
But I could see spark with North.
Yeah,
but they got to start, getting a little bit closer.
Oh, you got to get the wins.
Yeah,
and like you said, get closer to those top tier squads, regardless if they win or not.
Yeah,
just show a bit more promise. So good win by Carlton there. Brings us to the Dockers and the Crows. And in my opinion, wasn't necessarily an upset. I honestly thought
good win.
The Crows would have gone over there. But what a low-scoring affair.
Oh, it was... A lot of people said it was one of the most boring games they've ever seen. I like this. Fremantle is strangling sides, and we've been super hard on their back line. Paul Pearce and Liam Ryan were best on. Sorry, Luke Ryan. I'm very sorry about that.
Did you say Paul Pierce? Did he come over from the NBA? Is his name Paul Pierce?
Jeez, have I got 2 names wrong? Alex Pierce. Sorry, guys. I've had tongue twisters.
That was good.
Pierce was huge. Luke Ryan had 27 touches. I thought he was best on. They kept the Adelaide, Fogarty, Walker did nothing. Rankin did nothing. Have we overrated Adelaide?
I definitely have. I had them in the top 4. We'll run through quickly. So you had the Dockers 69, Crows 34, Walters, Taberner, and a miss kick 2 each, not between them individually. Then you had Young 32, Age 29, Sarong 28. He's a gun. He's gonna take out the cake, I reckon, for their BNF at this rate. Then you had over at Adelaide, Scholl 1, McHenry, Keys all 1 goal. And then you had Matt Crouch, 28, Dawson 27, Keane 26. So it was just, the Crows looked horrible.
For both sides, a lot of the times it was a very scrappy affair. But Adelaide wanted that. Fremantle wanted that. I guess the question marks, I went with Freo, but the question marks were if Adelaide got a hold of them with that offensive firepower. But Crouch had 28 touches, 21 handballs, just a lot of nothing. Dawson, I'm not buying this. He's a top 10 midfielder because he fucking butchered that ball. Had a lot of it, didn't do much with it. And we're seeing a Fremantle identity here. They're making the game very scrappy. And like I said, Alex Pearce was huge.
Yep.
Luke Ryan, 3 votes, should absolutely had the ball on a string. And then you got Sarong, Jackson, Amos gives him a target up forward. Michael Walters, who's at the latter part of his career, was super dangerous.
Fife was good too.
Fife is just like a consultant. He's come in, he does his job with the expertise. Everything he did was perfect. Freo have really surprised me. And I'm happy to eat my words.
I think I
definitely know who every single person on that side, because I'm very nervous for Carlton playing against Fremantle, because Fremantle are going to make this an absolute slog.
They're undefeated, and Adelaide winless.
And look at what Fremantle. So Fremantle with Pearce and Ryan, they've taken out Danaher, Hipwood, Larky, Zohar, Walker, Fogarty. They've gone up against sides with good forward lines. How good is this matchup going to be with Curnow and Mackay, who are the best? Who can we say they're the best? They're the best duo. Yeah. And I reckon these two have just been awesome in the backline. It actually makes it a fascinating clash.
It's going to be good. It's going to be good when we do the preview, which we'll be doing tomorrow. Yes. That is, just bear with me, guys. I'm going to bring up the next game. What do you reckon? Let's just touch on it. What do you reckon that means for Adelaide? They're going to be at their home ground this round.
They come up against Melbourne, who just beat Port Adelaide, who are in much better form, with all guns to their face. Import, Adelaide, this is a must-win for Adelaide. Adelaide was the one hopeful. It was one of those sides where we're all going to they're going to make the finals. They've started horribly.
Sure.
Winless,
can't do any worse than that.
They have started horribly.
That brings us to the Bombers, the Saints. Bombers stealing the show. 71 to 67. Stringer had 3, Langford had 3, Jones 2. Nick Martin. Round of applause, mate. 44 disposals.
I think he equaled an Essendon record.
Yeah, that's massive. And then you had Zeretz 30, McGrath 30. You had Higgins with 3. Community, I think his name is Community. I can't probably pronouncing that wrong. 2, Sinclair 1, Bonner had 32, Sinclair 30, and Jack Steele 29. Look, for me, I was actually quite surprised that we took that one out. I did tip us because I'm a big believer in actually, not winning a tipping competition, especially going for Essendon and tipping them every time. So we did steal the show towards the end. We shouldn't have won that, but we came back. Stringer was huge. He is turning it up. The last 3 games he's played, he's really turned it up for us. It's good to see. He's kicking goals. He's playing with energy. And, he said it at the start of this year, he's going to turn it up. He's going to come and take that next gear. And he's definitely shifted into it. So, like you said, Martin for us is huge. He's been an absolute addition that's been a bit surprising for us, if I'm being honest.
He's a jet.
100%.
He's a jet. And what was good about that, St Kilda really had control for 2/3 of that game. They kicked 2 goals in 5 minutes. Yep. Again, Essendon just letting St Kilda just dictate. I'm like, this is gonna be a hard clash. But Essendon, the stoppages, the clearances, they're just strong. Martin with 44. I thought Dyson Heppel played his best game since his fucking debut year. He had 30. He had 30 touches. Martin was used, but you did call this, Josh. You said at the start of the year, and there's footage of Stringer in preseason saying, "I've got another level to go to."
Yep.
And he is absolutely on. He has been on all year. He's kicking big goals.
It's good to see.
And he kicked that match winner. And that's a great win because St Kilda are doing all right. They took Geelong to the wire in Geelong. They make Collingwood really look second rate.
Yeah.
You know how much I respect St Kilda. You know the process with Ross Lyon. It's a big win for the Bombers, which really sets up a great test. Port Adelaide in Adelaide next week. That becomes a very interesting. Port backs against the wall. It's a very good win for the Bombers.
I was happy. I was very happy. I saw that. I was unfortunately couldn't watch it. Was working at the time, but I was keeping an eye out like there was no tomorrow on that scoreline, and it was delightful to see when I saw Stringer kick the goal. There was fist pumps in the car. You know, you can't watch it when you're driving, so you've got to be sensible. That brings us to the next game, which we had the Power and the Demons. Demons taking it out, 96 to the Power 89. Ben Brown with 3, Sparrow 2, and Neil Bullen 2. You had Rosie 26. Oh no, I've done the opposite again. My bad, guys. You had Rivers 27, Oliver 25, Neil Bullen 24. At Power, you had Rioli with 2. Finlayson 2, Burn Jones 2, Rosie 26, and Butters 26, and Ollie Wines with 25. Johnny, give us your take on this. This is a big win for Melbourne.
One, it was an amazing game, but this could be, in my eyes, this could be Melbourne's best win in a non-final. The only one that comes to mind is the end of round 23 against Geelong. They were 40 points down. They came back and won that game for minor premiers.
Well, they were out. The statistics show Port dominated pretty much the entire. Like if you look through,
except for hitouts, Port.
That's the only thing. But their clearance is 52 to 37.
Port kicked the first 4 of the game. Port have these amazing skills, and were all over them at home. Paint the picture for Melbourne. They've had They've been bullied in the media for the whole preseason. We thought they were going all right, and then their ex-doctor comes out and saying, players are on drugs, whatnot. They're going over against, a Port Adelaide side which is going well. 4 goals down, no Stephen May, and have a hard slog. What I am loving about this Melbourne side, 15 goals 6. What was their biggest problem last year? And when we looked at it against Sydney in opening round, they're kicking straight.
Yeah.
They're kicking straight.
Oh, 100%. I mean, you know what's funny? I've always thought Ben Brown has always been a very good kick. He's a reliable kicker. Fritsch good to see kicking 2.
He's kicked 2-1. He's looking Mr. Clutch as well. Ben Brown's huge. Ben Brown is not the player he was. You got to remember, at North Melbourne, Ben Brown kicked 200 goals in 3 years.
Yeah.
Like, that's a massive effort. In 2021, his role in that premiership side was more like a Mason Cox, when Mason Cox had his big games in finals where he just does the little things. He kicked 7 or 8 goals in that final series. He's not the player he used to be at North Melbourne, but he gives them some structure. This is a massive win for Melbourne and just shows they're up for the fight. Because they've been getting destroyed in the media. For Port Adelaide, though, this is my point about them. This is a game you don't want to drop. Melbourne, they don't have their best backman in. They're up against the ropes. You're at home. This is where Port show we're a top 4 side. And I really reckon they let this one go, Josh.
Who did you have last week on this one?
I tipped Port.
So I tipped Melbourne, I think, on air. And then I changed my tip.
But, I mean...
I was an idiot.
One person who was the difference, Max Gawn, 20 touches, kicks a goal, 50 hitouts.
Mate,
we were questioning him against
Grundy. These guys, they're players that matter. Oliver, they're coming out, they're playing. They've had a lot of adversity in the media, and they're really they're shining in it. It's surprising how
this is I reckon from an emotional standpoint, this is arguably the biggest win in a non-final grand final in there for some time.
Yep, no, I completely agree. That brings us over to the Bulldogs and the Eagles. Well, come on, guys, let's be real. Was that even really a game? Bulldogs 106 to Eagles 30. Bond had 3, Waitman 2, and Gallagher 2, and there was a hell of a lot more goals kicked as well. Trelaw 35, Bramble 27, Williams 26. Over at Eagles, you just had the 3 goal kickers with 1 each, Williams, Waterman and Cripps. Yo had 29. Kelly 28, McGovern 24. It's just a...
Congratulations to Harvey Gallagher, 16 touches, 2 goals, the rising star winner. But fuck, I mean, West Coast. Well, I mean, what the fuck? Like, we're not even gonna talk about this game because they were 15 at half time. 30 for the rest of the game.
Consistent.
This is horrible. This is horrible.
Have we seen a worse side in the 21st century?
Carlton from 02 to 2018, 2019, we won 5 wooden spoons. If you're talking about a short-term side.
So there's a glimpse of hope in 20 years.
West Coast, the good thing about West Coast is they were probably the richest club in the league.
Literally.
Arguably, yeah. They've got so many members. They're a very powerful club, good organisation.
So what's gone wrong?
So in 2018, they win the
flag.
They win the flag.
Something's gone so wrong.
2019, they're playing Richmond late in the year at the MCG, and it was a dry game. They kicked the first, and Richmond are firing. Yep. West Coast kicked the first 7 goals in that game, and I'm like, shit, if these guys make it in the grand final and it's a dry Saturday game with the midfield of Gaff, Shuey and whatnot, Tim Kelly, like they're every chance here. It started raining. Richmond won the game. Pretty much since then, West Coast they've been missing ever since. I know they made a final series in 2020, but they've really gone from grand final, 7 goals up against the eventual premiers at the MCG on the home deck. They've been missing since. I know COVID and injury has ramped it through.
And they've had some players retire, but that's not an excuse.
This is hard to watch. This is hard to watch.
It's unbearable. It's like, every week you almost like, do we even preview the team? Like, what do we do? Like, obviously you can just lock in. Are they going to be...
They're not even putting up a quarter. They were okay in the first quarter and then it was over from there.
Well, they're putting up scores like pretty much a quarter.
Yeah.
A quarter of scoring. So we're going to jump over to, bear with me, guys. This was an absolute cracker. Tigers and Swans. Tigers getting up.
Great win.
82-77. Tom Lynch, 3 goals. And Lafleur, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He's a New Zealander. 2 goals. Huge goals. Second game in. And Bolton, 2 goals. You had Taranto, 35. Lawson, 29. Rioli, 27. Over at the Swans, you had McDonald with 3. Heaney and Amati with 2. Lloyd, 32 touches. Roberts, 27. Heaney, 27. Heaney's just killing it. But this game, I will say this.
Good coaching, Uze. Good coaching, Uze.
They just stopped. They wouldn't, Sydney couldn't get the ball through. They couldn't pierce through. Their pressure was exceptional. They locked them down. It was so interesting to watch that game and then see all the, the ball users for Sydney who have normally just pierced through. They just could not get through. They weren't quick. They weren't their usual selves. And Richmond just shut them down.
Well, they had 32 tackles against Port Adelaide last week.
Yeah.
At the MCG Sunday. They had 59. So they almost doubled it. This Richmond side looked more powerful. Uze put Bolton in the midfield, had 20 touches almost to 3/4 time, kicks the goal.
Goals.
There's a blueprint because Sydney, the greatness about Sydney is their skills. You pressure them just like everybody else, they will struggle. And credit to Richmond because they got out to 3 goals at 3/4 time. Sydney kicked 2 goals within 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Good McLean, Papley, bang, it was on, and there would have been a lot of, for a side that Richmond are where we think they are, they generally give that game up.
Yeah.
Bolton goes through, kicks a goal. Baker, I thought, was absolutely sensational. Graham is going to be such a good player. The future for Richmond's good. Morris Rioli was awesome. Graham, geez, he could have kicked 2 or 3.
Rioli, I owe an apology. I did say he should be dropped, I think, 2 games ago. He was huge.
He didn't look fit, but he had
two,
3 tackles.
Mate, huge amounts of effort. There was, you just saw a lot of promise. Like you said, Baker, he's a star for them.
Martin didn't play.
And they had Martin out. That's huge.
The problem with this game, what does it cost him? Because Lynch has teared his hamstring off the bone. So he's gone for 2-3 months and Baker's been suspended.
Yeah.
So
They
they
lost.
might have given everything to it. Great win for Richmond. I think Uze, he's been close a couple of times, been very critical of his coaching. I think he made the moves that he needed to do. He got this side galvanised. Showed a blueprint too. Sydney with their skills, you just like every other side, you put pressure on them, and you don't need to be an elite side to pressure.
No.
Richmond, when they won grand finals, I never thought list-wise now, people listen to what I'm saying. I didn't think they had a top 4 list in terms of if you went individual to individual. I didn't think they had a better list
so
than
saying like
the Brisbanes, the Port Adelaides, the Geelongs. But they had pressure. They had a game plan that won. It's not always effort doesn't matter how good you are. Like effort is important.
What did we say? Talent without hard work is just wasted potential.
Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Yeah.
And I'm not reading into too much. I think it's given a blueprint how to beat Sydney. I'm not going to read too much into it to say that, they can't win it or anything. They've started really well. Richmond just showed, like everybody else, they're beatable.
Yeah, it was great. The pressure, like you said, 59 tackles, huge, absolutely huge. And it was an absolutely great game to watch. Papley in last quarter got them up firing within a goal, and then all of a sudden Richmond just come back, Bolton kicks that goal, and it was just a really good game to watch. So that's where we had the Easter Monday game, the Cats and the Hawks. The Cats taking chocolates there, 106-70. The Hawks, you had Ollie Henry, who was huge, and Tom Hawkins, massive on his 350.
350, yeah.
4 goals each. Stangl was good with 2. He had Braun with 27, Duncan 26. One of his goals was absolutely elite.
He was really good in that first quarter. He was huge.
Tom Stewart, 24. He had Chol with 3, McKenzie 2, Warple 1, Warple huge with 36, Nash 24, Newcomb 23. So not really.
I know it was a 30. It was a 36-point game, but it was actually an exciting game. There was a bit of drama at the end. Geelong, great move. So putting Ollie Henry on to James Sicily in that first quarter, because Sicily, if he wants to, he can intercept you. If you give him space, he's just going to pick you apart with his elite foot skills. Ollie Henry kicked 2 goals and Sicily only had 2 touches because he actually had to play as a defender. He couldn't play his natural game. Really, it just took that power away from him, and it got really ugly early. Great effort to Hawthorn. I thought Sam Frost was best on. That ball was coming down left, right, and centre. He was doing everything he could to save that game. I thought Sicily brought it back in the second quarter. Jack Guinea. I just want to have a quick touch on him. He got kicked. Is it? He almost got his head chopped off 4 times. The umpires are not giving him free kicks, which is obvious. Unfortunately, he's got the boy who cried wolf system, because so many times, a lot of the times he deserves a free kicks, but there's so many times he keeps lifting his shoulder up in the air. It looks like he's almost playing for it. Dude, the umpires aren't giving you free kicks. You've got to change the way that you play.
They ain't even giving him free kicks for holding the ball. There were 3 of his tackles of his 6 where he laid them. It should have been a throw. They genuinely dropped it, 360'd them, had every right to dispose of it. It wasn't like they had the fucking nothing. I think what's happened, he has definitely done the Joel Selwood very well. They've caught him out.
He kicked 40 goals on a career on it, and they've figured him out.
And they're really just bunkering down on it. And it's shit to see, because I think he's actually a good player with potential. On the eye test, he's not he's an impact player. I thought there were so many good tackles he laid yesterday that actually had a bit of impact on the game. Should they have been paid on the ball? That's why it's pissing me off. I'm watching a lot of football at the moment, and the umpires just have one rule here, one rule over there. There's no consistency, and it's really hard to watch the game, especially in moments where Hawthorn were in this game. They were in it up half-time, and then...
That last quarter, they really put up a fight. I think, Newcomb, Nash, Mitch Lewis took a couple of great grabs. They really, I thought Chol in that second quarter when they were 6 goals down,
It was
he
great.
took 2 big grabs in the back line. He ended up with 3. That was one of the best performances I've seen him play.
say, yep.
But Geelong were just too good in the end.
Yeah.
They're 3-0, and everyone who's, when we did the Geelong preview, whether it was on TikTok or YouTube, people were saying they were finished. You guys don't know what you're talking about. Again, Geelong again proving everybody wrong. It's the young kids again for me. Brun's first half was absolutely elite. Close was huge. Ollie Henry kicked 4. Then you've got the whole like Hawkins, game 350. He's moving better than he ever has. He kicked 4. Stewart down back. Geelong are looking very good, and they're in that.
Curno's the best one-on-one player. I think him and Hawkins. I don't think there's a better player who can create space than Hawkins.
I think Charlie's a better one-on-one player in terms of if the ball hits the ground.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So the complete package. But if you want to talk on purely marking and protecting the space, I generally reckon Tom Hawkins from a stylistic is the closest thing to Wayne Carey. Because if you look at both highlights, how they are fucking 1-on-4, 1-on-1, whatever it is, how they protect the ball drop, and they just clunk it.
It was really weird when we did our preview last week. We were talking about how you said how 2011 was his kind of golden game. We came out 2009 when they won the granny.
Yeah.
He said he was more of a bystander. 2011, he said that was when he shifted. That was his best game, kicked his best amount of goals in a grand final. And that was in his opinion, they did an interview with him saying that was his best game. And it was ironic because you literally said in that preview that exact same thing. And ever since then, he has been such a star.
Well, Tom Hawkins was always, he's son of Jack Hawkins, Jumping Jack, who used to take Specky. He's big name at the Geelong Football Club. Tom Hawkins was bigger when he was drafted. He was a big lump of a lad, and he kicked 3 goals against Carlton on debut in 2005. The next game against Melbourne, he kicked 4. Was it 2005 or 7? Or you can correct me, whatever it is. Then Mark Thompson did something really weird. It was a game against Melbourne. He kicked 4 in the first half. He then dropped him to say, I don't want him to get such a big head. Well, fuck, if you do it playing well and you're getting drops, I thought it was really weird. And he had to fight to get into that side because you had the players of Podsiadly and Mooney. But he got his opportunity. And 2011, he was starting to move in the right direction. But it really was that second half against Ben Reid, who was an All-Australian centre-half back, where he kicked 3 goals, really just ripped him apart in that third quarter. And since then, just look at him. He's literally been the best key forward in the comp. And mate, his goal assists are huge too. Like 2020, I don't know how he didn't get the MVP. He won the goal kicking and he was leading goal assists. Tell me another forward who's done that.
I don't think
that's ever happened.
No, I mean, no, not in a final series. I was going to say Papley did it last year with Sydney.
For the team?
Just for the team.
No, he did this for the league.
I know, that's what I'm saying. That's crazy.
It's been a pleasure to watch him, and on 350 he kicks 4 goals.
Yeah, massive. All right, we're going to bring up the AFL ladder so that we can run through. It has not too many changes, but a few surprises up there. As you can see, GWS on top, Freo second, third Melbourne, which you guys, you know what? I was wrong about Melbourne. I swear I said they were going to be outside the 8 based on there.
So that top 4, GWS and Melbourne, where did they finish in your ladder?
Don't talk to me.
Okay.
Don't want to look like more of a dummy right now, John. Come on. Fourth, you have Geelong, which is, I did not have them there. Sydney 5th, Carlton 6th. Carlton, that's pretty much where I had Carlton.
Yeah, that's 9th.
No, did I?
No.
Maybe
pretty much all the premiership favourites you said aren't making the 8.
Aside from the ones that aren't in the 8 right now. So then we got the Doggies 7th, Port 8th, Essendon 9th, Gold Coast 10th, and I'm not going to read the bottom 8, but it is, aside from the fact that Collingwood and Brisbane are in that bottom 8 is very surprising, but that is there anything else you wanted to round off the...
Well, we're going into gather round?
Yep, gather round this round. So it's all in Adelaide. When are we going to get over there? When are we going to go to gather round? Is it next year? Should we try and get there? Bring out street talk at Gather Round. Commit to the viewers, Johnny.
Fine, we'll do it. We'll do it. Actually, you know what? We're going to do it.
We're actually going to do it, and we've just got a lot of time to figure it out.
Hope it's rather be in Brisbane, nice and warm.
Go to Adelaide. We could just get some nice wine. Do you drink wine?
I can drink wine if there's a nice steak. Well, more roast. More of a roast. Okay, these are the games coming in. So you got Adelaide versus Melbourne. So Melbourne going to Adelaide again. Must-win clash for Adelaide. Brisbane versus North Melbourne on Friday night. Both teams haven't won. That's a weird one. Friday, and then after that, Friday night, Port Adelaide and Essendon now becomes a very exciting clash for me. I'm loving... I still have problems with the ease that Essendon lets teams out, but they're playing good contested football, exciting. Port have a point to prove. Saturday afternoon at 1:30, you got West Coast and Sydney. Don't care about that one. Then the Saturday games are up. So at 4:20, you got Fremantle and Carlton, which I think is going to be... Carlton play exciting brand of football, have a great list, while Fremantle really strangle sides. I'm looking forward to the Pearce, Ryan versus Curnow, Mackay matchup. At 8:10, Bulldogs versus Geelong. I'm very excited. But Dogs seem like they've got a little bit of mojo back. I know they've beaten up on, weak sides, but they look like they got some mojo back up against, Geelong, who are undefeated. And then going into Sunday, Gold Coast versus GWS, easy win for GWS. Richmond versus St Kilda, I think that actually had the potential to be a better game, but with the losses that Richmond have. And then Collingwood and Hawthorn.
I wouldn't wipe them out. Is Martin back in?
I don't know. We'll
Can I ask you a question? Who's your, at the moment, based on all those teams, who is your most informed team at the minute?
I think GWS. That's what I thought they were the most informed team last year. I thought they were very unlucky to lose to to Collingwood. And they just had this hard edge about them while playing like a really good looking brand of football. They haven't disappointed at all yet. So for me, they're at the top. If we're just doing,
No, we're not doing. No, I don't want to do the top.
I got GWS. Sydney, Melbourne, Carlton, Geelong are probably all around that, sort of same point.
Yeah. What about your most out of form team aside from West Coast? Because you can't even consider them in that
West Coast, North, Hawthorn. I think Adelaide. Adelaide and Brisbane are the ones who are under most pressure. The spotlight's on Brisbane now. They've got everything, with the trip to Vegas. This was supposed to be, equal, premiership favourites. They've dropped 2 games at home and they've led in most of those games. And Adelaide, this was supposed to be also a year that they, came into the 8 and they've been pipped 3 times. I think those 2 teams are really... I'm concerned. There's a lot of pressure on them going into this round. And
with the current, we're round 3. Well, technically, I don't really know how you quantify round. Opening round. We're 4 rounds in. It's weird to say it. Who are you most surprised by?
Who am I most surprised by?
So I would say for me, it's Sydney. They didn't get the win against Richmond. I think they did have a one-off sort of game where Richmond really did take the pressure to them, and I don't think they had the skill set or maybe in that moment the synergy between their squad to really handle it. And the adapt, Uze really, the coaching was superior there. But Sydney for me is the most surprising.
Sydney, yes and no. They've got a good list. Sydney, and I think we did this when we did the total predictions. I think most of us are like, well, I could see Sydney finishing as high as 5th or 4th or 12th. I wasn't too sure. But they've got a good culture. Fremantle for me is the biggest surprise. I had them very low.
Didn't we have them like 14th?
I had them 14th or 15th. We copped a lot of flack in our preview of them, and rightfully so. But they've been absolutely fantastic. I think Sarong has gotten better. Luke Jackson, without Darcy being there, he's like a unicorn.
Do you reckon it's like we've talked about it briefly, but do you reckon it's going to be a bit of a shift for their team? Do you reckon they're going to make it better with Darcy coming in, or do you think it's going to get worse? Is it going to be like Gawn and Grundy?
I don't think 2 ruckmans work. It's never really worked it's never worked really well. The only I'm trying to think with two key ruckmen, Dean Cox and Michael Gardner, who were at their primes are two key ruckmen. But by the time Cox was the man, Gardner was more a second backup. Jackson and Darcy are in their prime. I think, you don't get rid of Luke Jackson. I think this is potential, but Darcy's going to have a lot of currency. You can actually, get some picks or some money for him. Yeah. But that's not a problem for now. But Fremantle, just for a side that I was not excited about, they copped injuries early. They're playing an ugly brand of football, but I am really liking. Sarong's gone to another level. Jackson's been awesome. Amos, Tracy up forward have been good. And Pearce and Ryan, and seriously, Ryan was best on last week.
He
had the ball on a string, and you pictured out with a mile away with his blonde hair. I'm really liking what Fremantle are doing because it's not what I expected.
Who's based on our predictions? Who's going to be in the granny? Because I think it's thrown a bit of a curveball, and we're only 3 rounds in.
Oh, geez, we're going hard. I think we're going hard. Well,
mate, what are we here for?
It's GWS and Carlton.
I love it.
GWS and Carlton for me. It's way too early for that question.
I think the viewers we're out here making content for the viewers. Let's call it 4 rounds in. I think every right. I'm going to go GWS and Geelong.
And you wouldn't, Geelong are playing good footy.
And Geelong are just notorious with the experience they have, the fans they have behind them, the way they play at home, and they make Geelong. I mean, they play at home and they're bloody in Geelong. It's not even a bloody interstate team.
The last time they didn't make the finals was in 2015, I believe, and the following year they made a prelim. And then they made 3 or 4 and won a granny. So there's a good record. They're not good at going back to back, but the times that it's not very much that they've missed finals.
Well, they did it 2009 and 2011. So there's a year gap where they screw around.
But those years they still made a grand final. They won prelims. I'm talking about when they missed the finals, which they did this year. Last year. They're playing as good as footy as any, and, they've played St Kilda, which was at home, Adelaide and Adelaide. You can only beat who you beat, yeah? I'm excited for that game against the Dogs, but GWS and Carlton might be a bit biased. I think it's GWS, and then there's Sydney, Carlton, Melbourne, Geelong. I think they're all stuck, but it's very early to tell.
Oh, 100%. These are very early assumptions, guys. We're here. Who do you think's going to be there based on what we've watched? It's such early days. I mean, we're only, like we said, majority of teams have only played 3 games. It's not going to be one of those things. I think they're only all played 3 games. So it's a hard one to really determine where everyone's at. It's going to be interesting to see when we're around that halfway point. I really want to see where Brisbane and Collingwood are at. Because we've got 20 more games. There's a long time in this season to be played. We're only, what's at an 8th almost through.
Okay. Yeah. No, we've had 3 or 4 games, 1/8 once. Yeah, depending on how many games everyone's played.
All right, guys, that wraps everything up. Please share your comments, thoughts in the comment section, not the link, comment section below. Johnny, did you have any final thoughts or anything you want to share with the viewers before we outro?
It was a good week of football. Really, really happy with all that. Excited for Gather Round. It's going to be huge. And yeah.
Are you excited? You don't even get to go to the footy.
It's all right. I like it. We've been through this. I like sitting at home with my bottle of whiskey or gin and just nice and warm.
Yeah, what do you guys do? Do you have a bottle of whiskey? Do you have a gin? Do you have a lemonade? Do you have a Coke Zero? Or do you just have the full straight Coke? Like, what do you have? Like, I'm not talking about that.
A bottle of gin.
Bottle of gin. Or a beer. I mean, I sat down and watched the footy and I think I crushed about 6 craft beers. It was biblical. Anyway, guys, you know the absolute drill. Like, subscribe, and...
ring the fucking bell.
See you guys in the next one.